What is good, everybody? Hello, hello. Do we got everything up? We are good. We are good. So today I wanted to share a message on why you're blocked. If you watched my video from the other day, I do actually go into some core energy blocks, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper and I'm going for the heartstrings today. So I'm really just going to give you practical steps that you can apply to sort of test and see why you might be blocked. So the first one is put yourself on the hook, right? You can picture this example from fishing and you just let yourself, or you let a fish off the hook, right? Or a lot of times we let ourselves off the hook. We give ourselves excuses. We give ourselves explanations as to why it's not happening the way we want to or not the way we expected. We blame things that are low-hanging fruit, if you will, so that we can stay in a position of comfort or really just have an excuse for not rising to the occasion, for not doing better, being in a better place, being unblocked, right? So that would be the first thing that I would say. Put yourself on the hook. Just do a broad assessment of your life and just investigate from a place of just curiosity, not blame, shame, guilt, any of that stuff, but from a place of curiosity. Where am I actually on the hook? Like, where am I actually committed? Where am I actually going to show up? Where do I actually not make excuses for myself? Like, it's just non-negotiable. I'm just all in, and it takes out the middle ground, the gray area, right? Like, I'm not beating myself up. I'm not giving myself excuses. I'm just all in this thing. Because really and truly, we don't, let me give some examples. So in the world right now, the pain, the triggers, the reality of some things that we're facing is heavy. But I don't know about you, I don't get better the more I focus on things that are painful. I actually just experience more pain and frustration. So at some point, I, for myself personally, need to decide, am I going to keep sifting and muddling through this, or am I going to fix myself on things that I can control and on actions that I can take and how I can be better, right? Where am I going to get the result that actually moves me forward, that actually builds positive momentum versus just takes me down and whoever I'm connected to, right? So my argument would be is you've let yourself off the hook. You've just given up, right? So a lot of times that's because we're attached to outcomes. So I'm not going to do this because it's probably not going to look like this or this, right? Or I'm not going to do this because I don't have this background and I'm not qualified. Or I'm not going to do this because the timing isn't right. Or I'm not going to do this because we just create all of this stuff. So then we feel blocked when really we're the ones that created the block because we didn't put ourselves on the hook. There's nothing at stake. There's no risk. There's no commitment, right? So where are you actually on the hook? Or where are you feeling called to put yourself on the hook, to put yourself on the line, to, as they say, draw a line in the sand and actually say, you know what, like, I'm done beating myself up. That never was productive. That never got me anywhere, right? No amount of self-hate made me a better person, right? I'm done making excuses for myself. I'm either in this or I'm not. Like, I don't need the middle ground. Like, I'm in this or I'm not, and I'm not going to beat myself up if I'm not, but I'm also not going to just let myself off the hook. Like, I'm going to commit to what I commit to, and I'm going to be consistent about it, right? So put yourself back on the hook. Wherever you put yourself off the hook, put yourself back on the hook. That would be one area. Just investigate that for yourself. The next one is recognizing that we genuinely make the world better by making better things. We are creators, right? We actually, coming from the creator, we create, right? We are image bearers of God, right? So we are creative in nature. And so to make the world better, it comes from making better things. So what can you make better? What has been given to you to steward and to make better? Is that the inner life? Like, are you here to help people with their inner life? Is it being a parent? Is it being a teacher? Is it being a healthcare worker? Is it being an instructor? Is it being a investor, right? Like, what is it that you've been given to be creative with? And it doesn't have to be just industries that we think are creative. Like, a lot of times we attach creativity to the entertainment industry, or to artists, or to folks that work in museums, right? Like, but creativity manifests and expresses itself in many different kind of ways, right? Writers, how you show up and do any job, that I call it ministry, but it's art, right? Like, how you show up and communicate and express God through you, allow God to be expressed through you, that is art. And we make the world better when we honestly don't make it about ourselves. We think about solutions rather than just getting hung up on the problem. Okay, like, I'm an answer to that. I have solutions for that, and I'm going to go make that better, whatever the place is that you're called to. So instead of getting all hung up on all the things that are wrong and how they keep getting worse and all this stuff, which will just take you out, right? You can go in and decide, I'm going to make better things, starting with what's in my hand. Like, what is in your hand right now that you can make better? What has God gifted you? Truly, what has God gifted you that you can make better? Think about that. So that would be the next thing. And this comes to, like, I would say sometimes you've got to put boundaries in your life to help you. So for example, with exposure to social media, honestly, you don't need to be on social media connecting with friends, maybe posting something inspiring. You don't need to be on there for more than 20 minutes. Anything else, you're just sifting through judgment, comparison, criticism. You're just getting into covetousness and just stuff that you honestly don't need. Imagine the amount of time that you just spent on social media if you took that back and actually channeled it into something productive, right? You probably wouldn't feel blocked. So sometimes we have to create boundaries so that we can feel better. So I'm committed to only being on social media to post what I'm inspired to post, to connect to who I'm inspired to connect with, and then I'm off of it, right? Or I'm going to work out, but I'm not going to spend 3 hours thinking about, like, how many calories was that? How many hours do I need to work out to burn that off? How am I looking? Do I need to weigh myself? Like, I'm not going to give all of that mental energy to my health. That doesn't help me be healthy. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be consistent with my workouts. I'm going to eat clean. I'm going to drink a ton of water. I'm going to rest and get my sleep, right? And I'm not going to obsess about it. That helps me be healthy, right? So whatever it is for you, I'm just trying to pull examples, right? Or I'm going to limit my time connecting with people that are takers, right? Like, those kind of people, I say, keep them on the balcony, right? Like, you can still pray for them, you can still invest in their lives, but don't make yourself available to people that are just pulling on you, so that you can actually feed yourself in that time. Like, get in the Word of God, take a bath, like, go for a run, go for a walk and get some fresh air and breathe in some fresh oxygen, right? Like, get off your bum. A lot of times when we're just stationary, that's when we get, like, in a funk sometimes, right? So just some thoughts, but we make the world better by making better things. And sometimes we can't make better things because we're bombarded by too much stuff. So turn off the TV, turn off social media. You can put your phone in airplane mode. Like, you're not that important. We like to think we're that important, but we're not. And if you have to be constantly connected to your phone, you have to really look at what is genuinely a priority to you, right? All right, so that is the second one. The next one is, be brave enough to show up for you consistently. I know that this came up for me big time, probably around freshman or sophomore year of college, I would say, when I was really, really, really struggling with identity, right? Like, this is a point in my life where I was not, identifying as a people pleaser anymore. I was not an athlete. I wasn't going to be. I was realizing that I wasn't going to be an athlete anymore, right? Like, beyond college, that's it. Like, I'm just going to exercise for fun beyond that point, right? So I'm like, who am I? Why am I here? And like, what is my service to the world? And it was really overwhelming because I think in hindsight, there's not just like one thing that we're called to do, right? And this really helped me have peace or make peace with that. So for example, be brave enough to show up for you consistently. What that means is whatever I carry today, I'm going to express it. I'm going to share it. I'm going to cultivate it. I'm going to develop it. I'm going to work with what's in my hands, and I'm going to show up for me consistently, right? And I'm going to show up with passion because this life is a gift. I'm going to live like it. I'm going to live like it matters. I'm going to just decide and let that passion flow through me, right? I'm not going to get what I used to do, right? I'm not going to get hung up on outcomes. I'm not going to judge myself. I'm not going to criticize myself, compare myself, say all of this negative stuff to myself, which is coming from where? Fear, usually, right? But I'm going to be brave enough to show up consistently with what I have and just trust that that's enough, right? I'm alive, therefore I'm on purpose. And so I'm going to live like it. I'm going to live. And no matter what the thing is, like I'm not above anything, right? So if I'm just, at a grocery store talking to somebody, or if I'm, in traffic and making eye contact with somebody at a stoplight or whatever it happens to be, like I'm going to be present and I'm going to live with passion and live like it matters, one day at a time and one moment at a time. And I'm going to show up consistently. Are there going to be days where I have more energy? Yeah. Are there going to be days where I have less? Probably, but I'm still going to show up and live with the very best that I have and that I carry and steward that well every day, right? I'm not going to get it all right. I'm probably not going to check off everything that I have on a to-do list, but I'm going to show up with excellence. There's a verse that says, do everything as unto the Lord, not unto man. So, and I'm thinking of this too, like if you were ever, I know like when I was doing gymnastics, and I started gymnastics late in the game, right? Like not when I was like 3, more like when I was in junior high. Okay. So I had a lot of catching up to do, but they always had these glass windows where people could watch you from like the waiting room kind of. And then there's like the gym. And so people could watch you do things, right? So when you show up differently, when somebody is watching you, like that's when you really want to make the move. You want to show them that you can do it. You want to show them that them investing in you, being in gymnastics is worth it, right? Like you want to keep doing gymnastics. So if somebody is paying for you to do gymnastics, you want to show them that like it's working, right? So, or when you're taking a test or whatever it is, like when the spotlight is on, you want to perform. So think about that. Do everything as unto the Lord. If God is watching you, if you want to make God proud, how are you showing up? That's accountability, right? Like, and we don't, personally, I don't need that from somebody else. I don't need somebody to tell me good, bad, right, wrong, like any of that. Like I will take feedback, but I'm not going to let the feedback overwhelm me, whether it's positive or negative. Like if it's constructive, I'm going to take it. I'm going to be grateful and I'm going to apply what makes sense. I'm going to release what doesn't. Or if it's positive, I'm going to be grateful, but I'm not going to let that go to my head. Like I'm going to be present and aware that I'm not doing things for man, right? Like I'm stewarding well what I've been given and I'm doing everything as unto the Lord. And that really, for me personally, helps me show up to a different standard of excellence than if I was making it about making sure that this person is happy or making sure that it meets their expectation. There's some of that, but I'm doing it from a motive of I'm doing this for God, not this person. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Hang on a second. I have somebody that I need to pick up from the airport. So I'm just checking on time. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. All right, we're good. Cool. Okay. So then the next one. Oh, so be brave enough to show up for you consistently. Where I also really got a revelation of what this was like was when I was in grad school. I went to, and this was incredibly healing for me because I was under the belief, the limiting belief that I was not creative. And if we are God's children, we're creative because God is a creative God, right? God is the creator. So if we are made in his image and likeness, we're creative, okay? And again, how we express creativity is very unique and personal. So at any rate, I am in grad school. I'm in grad school for film production. It is blowing my mind. I'm in love with everything that I'm learning. I'm like a sponge, just taking it all in. And I am around some of the most creative and inspiring and like deep thinkers and just interesting people that I've ever encountered in my life. And I just really experienced like, these are my people. Like, this is wild to me. Like, and I think that that's a really big deal. You got to find or just identify what you carry, identify who gets it, and then build with them. And that's how you can really make things better. So to like tie that together. But all of these folks that I was exposed to in this season of my life, no matter what they were doing, if they were a writer, if they were, you know, a gaffer working on the lighting, if they were a cinematographer, if they were a producer, if they were a actor, they all saw the work, the practice, the art, the craft from a place of, they had an approach of, I'm passionate about this. This is worth it. Like, everything that I do is an expression and it's valuable. And it was wild, right? Because like some of the days that you're on set for like 13, 14-hour days. And it's genuinely exhausting. Like, you can't even like feel your legs anymore, right? You're standing on like cement and really hard surfaces a majority of the day. And there's like nonstop activity. You take so many different shots when you're making a movie. Like, there's so much that goes into it. There's so many moving parts. There's a huge need for attention to detail, and every person viewing their craft, their practice, their work as an expression of art with such intention, with such focus, with such precision is mind-boggling. It is the most beautiful thing that I probably experienced, where just everybody was in their place functioning with excellence, and it all flowed together in this unified way for the benefit of this masterpiece that we created. And it was beautiful, right? And just how we would come together, because a lot of times when you're in school like that, like, you're funding your own movies, right? So we would come together and help each other out. And so just like the teamwork, the family, the camaraderie that was happening there, just like this collaboration that came together, it was just wild. And these are people from all different backgrounds, all different personalities, all different just life experiences, and just so neat how it all came together and flowed from a really just pure place. So powerful. And so what I want to say is that all of these people, whether they were aware of it or not, were brave enough to show up one day at a time, one moment at a time, for the work, trusting that the outcome was going to be worth it. But even if the outcome was something that they couldn't control, or they didn't know how it was going to turn out, you get there by showing up one day at a time, one moment at a time, and doing your best. And that's how you guarantee that, right? So even if, for example, because sometimes you don't know with the film. So even if, for example, the film is it's not good in the eye of the public, right? It was worth it for what was created, what was learned, what was developed, what was, right? Like, what was contributed to the world. That was worth it, even if it didn't get approved by all of the world with me. So just that experience was so powerful, because often we're taught, particularly from the education system, that, you know, there's this idea, like, is this going to be on the test? Like, we just want to focus on outcomes. And if the outcome doesn't matter, then we don't show up. It's wild, but that's a really horrible way to live, because then you don't learn all of these beautiful lessons that are here for you. You miss them because you're only after outcomes, and outcomes don't really bring all of the fulfillment, all of the reward, all of the expression. They don't always draw the best out of you. Sometimes they draw the hustle, or the force, or the ruthlessness, or like sometimes it draws like some of the worst characteristics out of you. So just some thoughts on that. But be brave enough to show up for you consistently. None of the most beautiful things in the world, everything really starts with an idea. And the idea coming to manifestation doesn't happen unless there's humans that show up for the work, and they show up whether you're clapping for them or not, right? And you can do that if you're doing everything as unto the Lord, okay? All right. And then just 2 questions or guidelines to help you really look at yourself and just decide how you want to show up. Okay. So the first one is, and I know that this really helped me because sometimes we get caught up in the overwhelm of questions. Sometimes we get caught up in not being able to assign meaning to something yet. Sometimes we can get caught up in just like the heaviness of some dark things that we're walking through. Sometimes we just get blocked by what we're believing, by what we're perceiving, by what we're sifting through. We just block ourselves, right? But the question to help bring you out of that could be, did I live? When you look at your life, are you living your life? And what does that mean? Did I love, right? Like the people that God has placed in your life, that's not random. Do they know they're loved by you? Do you make that known? Did you love, right? And then did you matter? Did you matter? Did you have a positive impact in the world, right? Like this is something that every day or even in every season or at every stage of your life, you can be asking these things. And I know I was really struggling, like I said, for years, trying to really figure out purpose in all of these things. And I read this book by Robin Sharma. It was called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And it was all about this guy who basically attained everything that would make you happy and successful in the world, and it was not enough. And he encountered a lot of lessons on what life really is about. And I remember that book being very powerful. And there was another one too, like something like, would they care if you die? And I know that this is deep, but that's the level of deep that I was on. When you're really doing this work, it's so important to get in there, because we have so many things that are in the dark. And so we just sometimes need to bring them to the light to really assess, like, do I genuinely believe this? Is this serving me? Do I want to change this? How do I change this? Like, we've got to be able to face whatever that is and not just let it control us. So I had these deep questions and these deep thoughts, and some of them were like that. Like a title says everything. Like, would it matter if you died, right? Or like the lessons from this other book, right? But did I live? Did I live my life, or was I just checking things off and like going through the motions? Did I love, or was I just so self-involved and so selfish and so like up in my own head that like I really did not, right? Or did I matter? Like, what was I actually giving and contributing? Did I give? Did I contribute? Like, did I release what I've experienced, what I've been given, what I've been blessed with? Did I release that? Because we come from nothing and we leave with nothing. So like, what are you exchanging while you're here? Like, that question is so powerful if you can really let that hit your spirit. And then lastly, sort of like, would they care if you die? But would the world miss you if you weren't here? And I know like this is like a heart-piercing question, but that's where we live from. Like God looks at the heart. Like man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. So it's like, would the world miss you if you weren't here? Like, how are you showing up? Like, are you being seen? Are you being heard? Are you making sure that you matter? Like, are you taking up space? Right? Like these are very real questions. And then even if the answer is no, right? Well, then start saying how without excuses, right? Like, how can I live every day with where I'm at? Like, work with what you have, but how can I live every day? How can I love every day from a place of intention, right? How can I matter? You matter by deciding that you matter, and you live from that, right? So, for example, if you're a child of God, God didn't make you randomly. You're not just an afterthought in God's mind, right? You're here to have dominion and to be an expression of God. So get busy asking God, like, God, who would you have me be? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? What would you have me do? And take that wisdom and that revelation that Holy Spirit reveals and apply that, right? So you can get to the bottom of that. And then ask yourself, like, would I miss me, right? By what I'm giving? Just kind of like take a look at that. Who would miss me? Or like, would we, the world, miss you if you weren't here? And it just really helps you see, like, how are you actually showing up? Do people know you? Are you sharing your voice? Are you connecting with people? Are you having an impact? Are you contributing in some kind of way? Because we're not here to be an island. We're not here to just be self-involved and caught up in our own issues. We're here to serve, to bless, to encourage, to build up, to unify, to make things better. Like we're here for each other. We are. And so that would be something that, again, could help you just get to the heart of the matter. Sometimes that's what we need. We don't need more surface. We don't need more excuses. We don't need more people allowing us to just live on the surface. We need people that will call forth our greatness. We need people that will wake us up. We need people that know we carry more and are not satisfied watching us suffer. Yeah, like those are people that actually love you and actually care about you. The people that don't care are usually the people that are okay just allowing you to get by or not even checking in with you and seeing how you're doing. So just some thoughts. But why you might be blocked is because you're living in the surface of things, in the motions of things, in the tasks of things, that you're attached to outcomes, right? And how you can break this block is put yourself on the hook, like actually commit to something because it matters. If it matters to you, it matters. So actually commit to something because it matters. Make the world better by making better things. Like rather than complaining about things, rather than waiting for somebody else to do it, do it. Like I know that a lot of things that I've done, whether it's volunteering or whether it's, writing books or whether it's getting more education, it's because there's a deep need and I feel it and I want to be a part of moving that forward, right? So whether it's in the recovery space and like learning that and training in that, because more people, I'm passionate about more people stepping into freedom, or whether it's writing a book, like I wish this book was put in my hands in those really dark times where like I didn't feel like I had any guidance, right? Where that could radically shift somebody's path, or, just think about that. Like what can I create? Not wait for, but what can I create now? And just start doing it. Like if you're a writer, write every day. If you're an actor, act every day. If you're a business person, work your business every day. If you're a mom, like mom well every day, right? Like be about it, right? And then be brave enough to show up for you consistently. Like I talk about authenticity a lot, and I think we're doing our best to be authentic, but sometimes it's just being consistent so that you're just showing the world that you're whole, right? Like there's good, bad, ugly, like every day in between. And you're authentically expressing, like you're courageous enough to be vulnerable and share your life. That's what I mean by authenticity. You're not trying to wear all these masks, but we all do wear masks to some degree. So I'm not discounting that, but what we can do is we can show up consistently. Like I have this podcast and it's going to be here every Saturday. So if you need this upliftment, like go tune in, right? Or I make these videos because I believe in uplifting the human spirit. So like you're going to have this content when you're inspired and it will touch your heart, right? So the work, the practice, the creativity, the flow, like show up and be committed to that in whatever way it wants to come forth every day. Just be committed to it and make space for it. Because if you don't make space for it, it's not going to flow, right? So make space for it. And then the two questions to really lock this in: did I live, love, and matter? Really, really answer that. Make that even like a journal assignment. And then would we miss you if you weren't here? Think about that when you think about your impact and your influence. These are just like heart-bursting questions that bring so much perspective. So I don't know where this one came from on today. This is a loaded message. I hope that it blessed you. And if you are one of those souls that is into this inner work and really wants to take it further so that you can be of high service to the world, go check out julianapage.com. I have a self-mastery course over there and coaching programs to really help you lean in to this spirit-led life. So go check that out. Yes, you can also listen to the Spirit-Filled Real Talk podcast with Juliana every Saturday. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. And if you haven't subscribed here, make sure that you do that. If this message blessed you, you can copy the link and you can share it with a friend. All right, guys, until next time, stay blessed.